This is the council-ready granny flat set we're going to create in SolidDrafter. Site plan, floor plan, external elevations, the lot. In this tutorial, I'll draft it from scratch and export the council PDF right in your browser, so you can follow the same workflow on your own project. Matt here from SolidDrafter. We draft projects like this through Solid Core Engineering, so I'll show you exactly how a real council set comes together, just faster, step by step. Grab the reference files in the description if you'd like to follow along. We'll work through the in-app project checklist. 4 steps, start to finish. Site plan, floor plan, elevations, then export the PDFs. Simple as that. Let's jump in. First things first, create a new project. Then open the project checklist. This gives you a clear view of where you are, what you've completed, and what's left to finish. For most projects, you'll work through 4 simple steps: site plan, floor plan, elevations, and then exporting the PDF drawings. Step 1. To start the site plan, you can bring in a reference file. This might be an existing site plan, a hand sketch, or an aerial photo. For this project, I've got a site image with the measurements marked on it, so let's import that as our reference. There are 2 quick things we need to do before drafting over it. First, scale it so the measurements are true to size. Second, rotate it so the boundary lines up square with the drawing grid. That makes everything after this much easier and more accurate to draft. Now we'll use the align command to scale the image and rotate it into the correct position. The idea is simple. We pick a known boundary on the imported image, then match it to a true vertical reference line in SolidDrafter. First, draw a line along the boundary shown on the image. This gives SolidDrafter the direction and length we're working from. Next, create a vertical reference line. Drag select the image and the new line, then run the align command. Now pick points on the newly created line and the reference grid line. This turns the image in a vertical position. Next, create a vertical line with the real boundary length on the reference grid line. Turn ortho mode on so the line stays perfectly vertical, then type the boundary length in millimeters and press enter. Now, drag select the image and the boundary line, run the align command again, select the endpoints of the boundary line and the vertical line. Once that's done, the image is scaled to the correct size and lined up square, ready for drafting. Now it's time to draft the site boundary. Run the polygon command and trace around the site using the measurements from the reference image. Where the boundary is vertical or horizontal, keep the ortho mode on so the lines stay square. As I draw each side, I can type the boundary length in millimeters and press enter. To end the command, click on Finish button or double-click on Canvas. Before tracing too much, I'll reduce the opacity of the imported image. To do that, select the image and adjust the opacity value in the Properties panel. This way, you can see the new boundary lines we're drawing over the top. Once the boundary is closed, I'll add a hatch to the site area. Select the polygon, go to the Properties panel, and click the hatch button. Here, choose the green area for the hatch pattern, set the hatch color to green, and press Apply. Now we have the site boundary drafted clearly on top of the reference image. Let's check the project checklist and mark this part as complete. Now let's draft the main building footprint. To start, select the roof command. For this project, the roof type is gable, the pitch is 22 degrees, the eaves overhang is 450 millimeters, and the eaves height is 2.7 meters. For the roof material, I selected metal sheeting, but you can choose a different material if it suits your project. Also, you can check the gutter settings and make sure that the gutter sizing matches your project. Time to draft the roof. The easiest way to do this is to start from one corner of the building boundary. Because we already know the roof dimensions, I'll type the values directly using the keyboard. Once the roof outline is finished, click Next or simply double-click on the canvas. Now select the downpipe type, then click the gutter locations where the downpipes are required. The gutters are shown as blue rectangles around the roof. For the existing dwelling, I'm not going to show downpipes because we're not changing that roof. But for the proposed granny flat, we need to show the new downpipes. The roof created by SolidDrafter is a good starting point, but it may not be 100% accurate for every project. For example, on this roof, the valley line on the left-hand side is missing. To add a new valley line, select the roof, click Convert to Manual, then choose the Valley tool and draw the valley line on the roof. Next, you can see the gutter extent on the left side is not quite right. To adjust it, click the gutter, hold one end, and drag it into the correct position. You can also see that a gutter is missing at the top right corner. To add a new gutter, select the roof, scroll to the gutter section, and click Add. Then select the gutter type and size and click Next. Now select the roof edge where the gutter needs to be shown. To finish the command, click Done. Now that the roof is drafted, let's move it into position on the site plan. Select the roof, run the Move command, and place it in the correct location. Now that the main building is in position, let's draft the veranda roof, which is located up against the main building. Select the roof command again. This time, the veranda has a flat roof, so I'll select the flat roof option. Check the roof settings, then click Next. Pick one corner of the veranda and start drafting the roof outline until you reach the other end. Make sure ortho mode is turned on, so the roof edges stay perfectly vertical or horizontal. Once the outline is complete, click Next. Now select the highest edge of the roof. This tells SolidDrafter which way the roof slopes, so it can show the correct slope direction on the plan. If the gutters are not in the correct location, simply select them and delete them. You can also change the slope direction by clicking this triangle here. In this case, changing the direction shows the gutter on the correct side, which matches our project. Finally, if nearby roof sections are covering each other, select the roof and adjust the draw order from the Properties panel under the Order section. Now draft the existing shed. Zoom into the boundary corner closest to the shed. Select the rectangle command, then click that boundary corner as the starting point. Instead of drawing it manually, click the size input button and type in the shed dimensions. This lets us place the shed accurately using the measurements from the site image. Once the rectangle is placed, select it and open the Properties window. Add a label, such as Existing Shed. This label will be shown on the plan. Then apply a hatch so it reads clearly on the plan. You can adjust the hatch pattern, spacing, or angle using the Edit Hatch button. The shed is set back 600 mm from both boundaries, so we'll use the Move command to offset it into the correct position. Move it 600 mm away from one boundary, then 600 mm away from the other boundary. Next, draft the driveway and concrete footpath. Use the polygon command and trace the driveway and footpath from the reference image. If you need to add or subtract measurements while drafting, you can use the built-in calculator in the sidebar. When the polygon for concrete crossover and footpath is complete, click Finish or double-click on the canvas to end the command. Now select the driveway and footpath polygons, then apply a concrete hatch from the Properties panel. To check the site plan so far, drag select the drafted area and run the copy command. Move a copy to the side, then hide or remove the reference image. What remains is the clean site plan line work you've drafted so far. Make sure you open the project checklist every now and then to track your progress. Now add text annotations to show the site boundaries on the plan. To do this, select the text box command and place the text on the plan. You can rotate the text box by selecting it and dragging the circular handle at the top, or by adjusting the rotation in the Properties panel. You can also use the move and copy commands on text annotations, just like other drawing elements. Make sure you add text boxes for the street name and the site plan title as well. The site plan title should also include the drawing scale. We'll cover this later when we move into the layout mode. Looking at the project checklist, we've now completed the existing site plan. It's time to draft the proposed site plan. The proposed site plan should show what the site will look like after the construction is completed. To achieve this, we need to show the proposed works, including the new building and its setbacks from the boundaries. First, we need to draft the proposed building on the site plan. This could be a new granny flat, shed, veranda, or an extension to the existing building. SolidDrafter makes this simple. Depending on your project, you can generate a new veranda, new shed, or a new granny flat from the builder section. For this project, we are creating a new granny flat, so click on this button here. You can select the total area, number of bedrooms, layout details, wall types, and roof type. Then click Next and select a point on the canvas to create it. Now it's time to pick the downpipe locations on the gutters. The gutters are shown as blue rectangles. To see the floor plan below the roof, select the roof and reduce the opacity in the Properties window. To rotate the new granny flat, drag select the whole building, then click on the Rotate button. Look at the floor plan and check if you are happy with the layout. We are going to make minor changes to the floor plan later. Now we need to place the new granny flat in the correct location on the proposed site plan. To do this, we can add vertical and horizontal reference grid lines to identify the corner of the new building on the plan. In this example, the distance from the boundary is 2.6 meters in one direction and 1.2 meters in the other direction. Select the grid lines and run the move command to position them. Now drag select the new granny flat. Run the move command. Select the top right corner as the reference point. Then move it to the intersection of the grid lines. Congrats! The proposed site plan is complete. You may still need to draft the footpath around the building, but I'll leave it to you. Now have another look at the project checklist to track your progress. As you can see, we are almost finished with step 1. Before we move to step 2, we need to show the dimensions of the new building, as well as the building's setbacks from the side boundaries. To do this, you can use either the linear dimension tool or the string dimension tool. For this project, we are going to use the string dimension tool. Step 2. In step 2, we are going to finalize the floor plan. First, drag select the new granny flat on the proposed site plan, then run the copy command. Select the roof and reduce the opacity so you can see the floor plan underneath. To edit the floor plan, we need to hide the roof so we can select and edit the walls, doors, windows, and other items inside the plan. To do this, select the roof, then click the hide button at the top of the properties window. Now let's update the floor plan. To change the floor color, select the floor hatch, click Edit Hatch, and choose a new color. To delete an existing door or window, simply select it and press Delete. To adjust an internal wall, select the wall, then click and hold one end of the wall and drag it to the new location. If ortho mode is turned on, the movement will stay vertical or horizontal, which makes it easier to keep the plan neat and clean. You can add a new door or window by running the door or window command. For the door command, adjust the door type and details first, then click on the wall where you want to place it. To change the door orientation, select the door and click on the small triangle controls shown next to it. This lets you change the swing direction, including inward, outward, left hand, or right hand swing. You can also move a door or window by selecting it and dragging it along the wall. For fixtures and objects such as a shower, sink, toilet, vanity, or furniture, open the object library and select the item you need. To rotate an object, select it and adjust the rotation value in the Properties window. Now it's time to add dimensions. The easiest way is to use the string dimension command. Run a dimension line from one end of the building to the other, and SolidDrafter will automatically generate the measurements along that line. After the dimensions are created, move them slightly away from the building so the plan is clear and easy to read. Now add a text box for the floor plan title. Make sure you include the drawing scale as well. We'll discuss the scale in more detail when we get to layout mode. Great work! Step 2 is now complete. We have drafted and updated the floor plan, added doors, windows, fixtures, dimensions, and the floor plan title. Now let's move to step 3. In step 3, we are going to generate the elevations. One of the main benefits of SolidDrafter is that it automates many of the time-consuming drafting tasks, including elevations. To generate an elevation, run the elevation line command. Draw a line along the side of the building where you want to create the elevation, then click Next. Now, select the elevation depth. In most cases, this should cover the full depth of the building. Next, click on the canvas where you want the elevation to be placed. The elevation is now generated. One important thing to understand is that the elevation is connected to the plan. For example, if you move a window on the elevation, the window will also update on the floor plan. Now open the project checklist and tick off the items you have completed so far. Now repeat the same process and generate elevations for all 4 sides of the building. Once the elevations are created, update the elevation titles to show the correct cardinal directions such as north, south, east, and west elevation. To do this, double-click on the elevation title and update the text. Open the project checklist again and update your progress. You can also generate a section using the same elevation line command. The difference is that for a section, the elevation line should cut through the building instead of sitting outside it. Here is an example. Run the elevation line command, draw the line through the building where you want the section, select the depth, then place the section on the canvas. To move elevations or sections, select the items, run the move command, and place them in the correct location. Good job, step 3 is now complete. Now let's move into the final step. In step 4, we are going to set up the drawing sheets and export the PDF drawings. To start, click on the Layout Mode button on the top bar. Layout Mode is where we set up the drawing sheets and show everything we have drafted so far on the final PDF drawings. On the top right, you can see the Project Details button. Here, you can enter the project information, including the project name, client name, site address, and drawing title. The rest of the project details, such as drawing number and date, will be generated automatically. This is a small residential project, so we can place both the existing site plan and proposed site plan on the same sheet. As a result, I'm going to name this sheet Existing and Proposed Site Plans. You can also replace the SolidDrafter logo with your own logo by clicking on this button here. As you enter the project details, you can see the title block updating automatically. At the bottom of the screen, we have the layout section. Here, you can change the layout name, add or remove the revision date, duplicate the layout, or delete the layout. Now looking at the project checklist, the next step is to add the viewports. If you are not familiar with viewports, make sure you check out our separate viewport tutorial. Click on the viewport button to add a viewport to the layout. From here, you can adjust the scale. Choose a scale that allows the whole site plan to fit clearly within the viewport boundaries. To edit the content inside the viewport, simply double-click within the viewport boundary. You can pan, zoom in, and zoom out until the drawing is positioned correctly. You can also resize the viewport by clicking and dragging one of the corners. To move the viewport from one location to another, click and drag the viewport window. The viewport for the existing site plan is now complete. Now repeat the same process for the proposed site plan. If you need to update the actual plans, simply go back to Model Space, make the changes, and then return to Layout mode. To adjust the north direction, select the north arrow and drag it to the correct position. Next, we need to add a new layout for the floor plan. To keep the same project details and title block settings, you can duplicate the existing layout and then update the drawing title. For this new layout, make sure you change the drawing title to floor plan. Now remove the existing viewport and update the remaining one on the layout so that it shows the floor plan. Then adjust the scale and position the floor plan neatly on the viewport. Next, create another layout for the external elevations. Again, duplicate the previous layout if you want to keep the same project details, then change the drawing title to External Elevations. Make sure each layout has the correct drawing title before you export the PDF. If all the elevations don't fit inside one layout, break it down into multiple layouts. Don't forget to add layouts for the sections as well. Open the project checklist and check your progress. At this stage, we have almost completed the 4 steps. We have drafted the site plans, floor plan, elevations and sections, and we have set them up on the layout sheets. Now we are ready to generate the PDF drawings. Let's quickly go through the features under the Files menu. Save As button allows you to save the current project as a new project under a different name. Load button allows you to open a project you have already saved. Export project file allows you to download the exact project file you are working on, so you can share it with someone else. They can then use import project file to open the same project in SolidDrafter. The share button allows others to access the model space as a viewer. Now here is one of the most important features in SolidDrafter. Export PDF button generates a PDF file for each layout sheet. These drawings are ready to share with your client, council, certifier, or project team for review. Export DXF button generates a DXF file so your engineer or designer can import the project geometry into their own drafting or design software. Go ahead and generate the PDF drawing for each layout, open them, and have a look at the outcome. Here's the finished set. This is exactly what gets submitted to council. On the existing and proposed site plan sheet, notice the title block has filled itself in. Project name, address, drawing number, scale, and date, with the north arrow, boundary dimensions, and setbacks all in place. This is clean, scaled, council-ready documentation, drafted from a blank canvas in your browser in a single sitting. Another useful feature is the schedule command. This generates a list of doors and windows used in the project, and you can download it if you wanted. Congratulations! You have successfully completed all 4 steps and generated drawings for a real project in SolidDrafter. Please share your experience with us. Your feedback helps us improve the platform and provide a better service. One important note before you go. SolidDrafter is a drafting platform only. It helps you produce the drawings, but it doesn't replace engineering design. For engineering design and certification, always engage a qualified professional. And if you'd like that engineering and certification handled for you, that's exactly what we do at Solid Core Engineering, the team behind SolidDrafter, so you can take your project from drafted drawings all the way to approval. Thanks for watching, and with SolidDrafter, you're always drafting with confidence.